roleplay. Now, I don't consider roleplaying to be a niche community on its own, since for every fandom, you're bound to find some roleplay server on Discord and roleplay. There are multiple different ways to roleplay, depending on the literacy or type. Yes, this includes ERP. Don't ask me what that is. I'd like to keep my channel monetized, please and thank you. Sup Planetoids, it's Star, and in this video, I'll be talking about my history with the role-playing community and how it became a key part of my life then and now. My memory of how I started out is a little hazy, but I tried to remember as much as I could for the sake of this video. So get ready to enter the realm of the role-playing community. This is going to be a shit show. We start our journey in 2016. It's May, and I just left elementary school. And around this time, I got Roblox. I didn't really know what it was at the time since I just randomly found an ad for it while I was looking up something. And so I got it for myself and thought I could check it out. There were a plethora of games to choose from. I mean, like, a crap ton. They were all very old and stuff. Definitely different from now. And most of them consisted, like, the main ones were like Roblox High School, Work at a Pizza Place, Meep City, all the OGs. But I was a sucker for fantasy roleplay games. Those were my go-to. I played Neverland Lagoon, Vampire Kingdom, and Darkened Dawn, to name a few. I was obsessed with them. I always played as either a werewolf or a demon or a mermaid. I really like mythological creatures. And most times when I either played a werewolf or a demon, I'd usually act very evil and stuff and make up my little scheme to take over the kingdom. It was all fun. My style of roleplay at the time is very amateur. Classic asterisks and just random verbs and actions that represented what I was doing or what I was trying to portray. I didn't really care about the little details. I just made the story up as I went and just had fun with it, really. Like any 11-year-old. In late 2016, I got my first phone. It wasn't really a phone. It was like a trainer phone, I guess. And my friends kept talking to me about contacting them on this app called Discord. And so I got it for the first time. One of the first servers that I was in was a server dedicated to all of us in the friend group, with all of our little self-insert OCs living in one house. My character was a kid werewolf in a sailor outfit, literally named my Roblox username at the time Strange Claudine SOS. She had a twin sister, like, later on in the roleplay, which I don't remember why I decided to give her one, but she existed, I guess. Early 2017 was the start of the indie game era. I was obsessed with Undertale and Cuphead and Bendy, and I made so many characters for all three fandoms. This is also around the time where I found a Sonic role-playing game and also Enchantix High when it was first starting out. This is where I started to expand a little bit more on my character designs and how I started to roleplay. Don't take my word for it, but I started to get a little bit more specific in what I did because I was adding powers and I was fighting some characters off, and so I had to be a little bit more specific, so I started adding more words and maybe even a few sentences, like one or two, to represent what I was doing. 2018 and 2019 were the years where things started to really change. I found out about a Roblox group that was inspired by the book The Outsiders. It was called Reckless. And out of my curiosity, I joined to see what it was all about. The way that they were role-playing was a lot more detailed and more specific to what they were doing. And so, after having to change my character due to historical reasons, I mimicked their style, and I started to roleplay similar to them. Of course, I wasn't really the best with interaction between characters, since most times I was doing it by myself, so it started to get a little awkward, and I just kept distancing myself from the rest of the group. But I tried my best to at least interact with them a few more times. This is also when I discovered Thurlcrest Academy and got myself affiliated with an Academy roleplay group. And it was really different from the other roleplay I was doing on the side. The actions that they were doing was summarized in one sentence as a way to quickly get a hit in for every time they did a combat scene. While one was more detailed and more tame, the other one was fast and more vigorous. At that time, I was trying to learn which one would be suitable for me. But then, while I was finding roleplay group servers in Roblox, I found even more roleplay servers on Discord. This is where I found from a friend when I was playing Dragon Ball Successors, rest in peace. I had this friend, and they invited me to Reapers. I don't remember the whole name, but all I can remember is Reapers. So I entered the Reaper server with a character that I made in Successors named Oceana, who was originally a special race called Reven, but after some rules, I couldn't be a Reven, so I had to be a water demon. And this is where I found people that I didn't expect to be with for about 3 or 4 years. And with Thurlcrest on Roblox and Reapers in Discord, this is when I was fully introduced to the world of combat roleplay, both in realistic terms and fantasy terms. December of 2019 was when I found someone who I still find to be a very good friend to this day, and his name is Akuda. Please go subscribe to his channel. He is truly an amazing guy, and I'm so glad that we've been friends for so long. We started talking to each other in DMs, getting along with each other and becoming good friends, and we started making stories based off of fandoms we both liked. We came up with characters, we used canon characters. It was a ball. We made a lot of stories, especially with the characters that we made. And it's a lot. There's a whole lore just based on our characters alone that I'm not going to get into in this video. But with him, we made so many stories together, and I got so much inspiration to make new stories each day we called. It was awesome. In 2020, near the end of freshman year in high school, COVID hit. And this is where things really started to go south. With COVID happening, I started to grow very anxious about everything, and I was using Discord and Roblox and just games that I was very attached to as a way to get my mind off of reality. I was doing this before COVID, but it got way worse during quarantine. It became like pseudo-therapy for me. A way for me to just cope with the reality of people dying from a disease and society not being so let's not talk about that. Around this time, I'm playing a lot of diverse roleplay games, and my style of roleplay has vividly changed. I'm starting to use quotations, I'm starting to describe my actions with more than 1 or 2 sentences. I'm becoming more what you'd call semi-literate, and I'm becoming more descriptive with what I write. The amount of characters that I've had have tripled, and I have like almost about 100 characters at this point, with more diversity and more dynamic relationships with people. My characters don't all look like me. They all don't have the same relationships as me. Some of them were an only child, some of them had 13 siblings, some are small, some are tall, some are different ethnicities and races, some are gay, some are straight, yeah, the list goes on. I'm skipping 2021 since a lot of the stuff isn't really that special to the story. But then in 2022, that's when things started to come back up again. For the sake of this part of the story, I won't be naming names. But I met this new person in my life. They were a good friend, and we were so attached to our stories. At first, I was the one that came up with the idea of doing improv for me to get better at voice impressions, and it started to become a story. It started to become like a whole lore that we started to make on our own, and it was amazing. So me and this friend started talking to each other, similar to the Akuta story, and the ideas of stories just blossomed. We were making story after story, character after character. We made a whole group based off of it, and we had a never-ending story. It was great. It was a lot. But due to just conflicting views, we stopped doing the group thing for a hot minute. Until it was brought back a few days later, and then we started doing all the stories all over again. Then a whole friendship conflict occurs. I'm not going to go into the details. And after that, we have a 1-month hiatus from each other. After a while, we decide to make a compromise with the friend, and everything goes back to normal. I'm introduced to a new server that is another Sonic-related server, and I try my best to just write myself into the story as I usually do. Around this time, I'm very low on inspiration. I've started to lose that creativity from making a lot of characters, since I think that I've made at least one character with a special ability and or some type of like unique trait to them that I just can't think of any new traits or ideas for a new character anymore. And my style of roleplay has very much declined. I'm starting to repeat sentences and certain words. I've stopped being as descriptive since I just can't think of how to properly write or add detail to a story. And I've just been forcing myself to be engaged with as many roleplays as I could, because I felt like I was going to lose a lot of story if I did. It got to the point where I was not taking care of myself for the sake of role-playing and finishing the story. I stopped taking baths. I stopped doing homework, and I kept wasting my time just solely to finish the story of a roleplay. It was starting to be the key thing that I would do every time I got back from school, and I would do my homework or half-ass it, and I would just roleplay the rest of the night, not even just not even taking care of anything else and just wasting my time, which made me a huge procrastinator. With this friend that I was talking to, I was growing so much more dependent on their stories. I started to rely on them as my way of being inspired, of getting inspired. And over time it got worse and worse. It was almost like an addiction. I was so addicted to the stories because they were the one that told it. I was the one that was following it, and I wasn't fully putting my dedication into the story, so it really wasn't my story at all. The only thing that would cure our friendship was those said stories, nothing else. Every argument that we had, every conflict that we had, the one thing that would heal it was the stories, which wasn't really a valid reason considering the circumstance of the drama, which again, I'm not getting into. After some time with them and the server that they were in, I couldn't deal with it anymore, and I had to just disconnect from them. It was hard because of how close we were as friends. It was just some things happened and they really shouldn't have. That's all I'll say. Middle of 2023 is when I met my newest band of buds. They're all hero-based most times. We've made a really big story so far. We've made multiple stories with a lot of characters. It's only been a few months since I've met them, and they are awesome. They are all very sweet and stupid, but sweet. I love them, and they love me, and we're just a band of buds, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm trying my best to make more characters with them as I go, asking them on occasion which characters I should make next, since I'm still trying to recover from the whole burnout that I had in the last few years. And I'm making a small comeback, kinda. As of recently, I've been wanting to quit role-playing for a while, because just recently I was in a server that was like very overwhelming for me, especially since I was not the best with role-playing. It felt very overwhelmed, and I was starting to really second guess and doubt myself on my performance as a role player. Personally, I don't know if I want to continue with role-playing anymore. I'm still doing it to this day, but I'm wondering if there is a time or a day when I'll stop. Especially since I'm in college and I can't waste time here. A lot of stuff is on the line. My whole education and my whole career is on the line. And if I keep wasting my time on a game like this or on Discord, it's going to get really bad, and it's going to probably be the reason I drop out if I'm not careful. I don't want that to be the case. I've made so many friends along the way. I've made so many characters and so many stories, and I'm trying my best to at least motivate myself to make more. But with roleplay has really knocked my creativity down a few pegs. It's gotten to the point where the merge of storytelling and character design have started to become a challenge and a chore. And I don't want that to be. I don't want that to be a chore. I don't want that to be something that becomes a struggle each day. I want to be able to create stories because as an artist, you need to create something. Creativity is key. And I'm starting to lose it day by day, being online, doing all of this stuff over and over again. So I'm wondering, should I quit? is this where I finally quit? Because if I quit, then maybe my creativity will be healed? I don't know. But at the same time, I'll be leaving behind a legacy, so to say. Just this whole story and history of me. Making so many friends, making so many stories. The nostalgia, the drama, the happiness. I don't want to lose that because role-playing is my life. It's what I've made for myself. It was my therapy, but it was also my passion and my hobby. And I really can't see myself doing anything else. I haven't stopped. If I don't really make the final decision, I probably won't be stopping anytime soon. So, there you have it. That was the role-playing history of Star. Yeah, I know I probably left a lot of stuff out. A lot of vital parts, but that's all I can fully remember. I do hope that you liked this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you, hopefully, in my next video. Bye-bye!